So let's start this video unboxing with the Sega Saturn. So with this Yaba Shinshiro emulator, so playing is just going to be an overall fun experience. What I did notice that I'm going to be playing with this is that my right thumb is actually touching the freaking joystick all of the time. So you need to hold it a little bit strangely, and I think this is a little bit of a downside. And also the buttons are quite small, so I need to hold my hand in a certain position that I'm not going to be touching it and bashing into it. But the overall emulation performance is on native just great. You can also do a little bit of tweaking if you want to go in a little bit higher resolution. But moving into some basic arcade stuff, yeah, we can play this on all kinds of different devices. So if you're into the stuff like this, I would not really recommend buying it only for arcade like this, because there are so many different cheaper options. Sometimes you're going to be paying like a $50, you have like a great device that can exactly do the same. Of course, those will not have like a beautiful display like this particular one has. I just completely missed the guy. The D-pad is very responsive when it comes to the movement. So playing for fighting games, this is going to be a lot of fun. So the audio quality on the device is quite nice, especially when you're having games like the 64th Street, you're going to be playing this. The stereo effect is noticeable and very nice. The overall quality itself is good. I do wonder if we can get Killer Instinct to be running on this, but most of the stuff runs fine. So what is interesting with the MAME, for example, it runs through RetroR. What you can do is pressing once, and here we're having the option to make a quick load, quick save, or we can just basically shut down the emulator or hold the button and it will automatically go back. We're going to be having the load state, and here you can just see we can just continue with the system and the game to a certain location. And I love it that they implement bezels to have the perfect aspect ratio and the resolution of the original game. But again, the same story applies with this. We have all kinds of different systems that can be playing GBA just fine. So one of the other interesting systems I wanted to check out is the Autonomous Wave with Dolphin Bloom. So this is one of those games that will not run, let's say, superb on, let's say, cheaper devices. And with a device like this, with the power we're having now, we can actually play these games without all this crazy stuttering. If you have some stuttering, it's most to do of, let's say, the performance of the emulator in combination with some settings. And also all of these things, all of these games so far I've tested, seem to be running fine. You did notice you have like actually the touch buttons, you can just shut it down if you want to. You know what, let's do that now. So when it comes to the controls, you can go here like on touch controls disabled. I don't want to see those anymore. And okay, so we have been set to 8x resolution. And in here we can mess around with the settings, show FPS, yes please, and continue. And let's do a little bit of a gaming. And what is absolutely amazing with this particular device, with the RG557 now, that we have PlayStation Portable Emulation set to 4K or 8x resolution. And ooh, did that matter dip over there? We just wanted to see what happens. Let's push to the limit. Let's make a save over here. Yep, I know, you need to shoot back. Oh yeah, return fire. Return fire. So that's what we're going to be doing. But first, we're going to slice and dive. Yeah. But getting into the gameplay, I don't really notice a lot of hiccups. And yeah, this is just great. If you think about all of the different stuff that we have been testing, that we have come actually to the point that we can render these things on such a very cool device. So let's move on to one of my other favorite games I love to play, is some Wipeout. The same situation with 4K rendering resolution. So when I was actually playing this game, and I can tell you that the camera doesn't really do justice when it comes to the display itself. So I'm just, let's say, playing around with it, and I did notice that the same situation I had before, like bumping with my thumb into the joystick over here. So, and the buttons are a little bit too small when it comes to that. So it's absolutely responsive, the joystick. But the only thing I would improve when it comes to this is actually having the joystick slightly different, or maybe put the buttons on different position or bigger buttons, you know. So with the MMJR, let's say Dolphin, I did notice that we do have a little bit of an, let's say, weird thing going on with the audio. So it's quite unfortunate because this is of course a rhythm game and also the music is very important. But beside that, this is just such a blast to play this game again with a physical controller, or at least like physical controllers attached to the system itself, because of course normally you're playing this with the remote. Some do claim they have a little bit of a delay. I don't know, let me know in the comments. Did you ever play Rhythm Paradise? And you should absolutely check it out. But how about overall, let's say, GameCube emulation? This thing is capable of running it. So out of the box, I already mentioned before with the Wii, I did notice that when it comes to the audio, I didn't have like the ultimate experience when it comes to that. However, so what you need to take consideration is that this is just out of the box experience. I just wanted to showcase. And of course we can actually do all kinds of tweaking. Vibration mode seems to be working out of the box as well. And I think it's such a cool addition. And sometimes I do really miss the vibrator motors with some of these devices. Responsiveness of the freaking joystick is great, and overall I must say that when it comes to playing the old school F-Zero GX, this is just my #1 GameCube game when it comes to that. This is the only game I normally play on my original GameCube. So but when it comes to this runs absolutely great. We're still running actually on the normal resolution. So yeah, we can just go to the quick settings. You can actually see internal resolution. We can just try to do a little bit of tweaking with that. It is absolutely possible to do that depending what kind of game you want to play. But again, this is like a situation of what kind of, let's say, Dolphin MMJR or the normal Dolphin emulator. What kind of version do you actually have on here? So that is something we can do a little bit of tweaking later on. We're going to be playing with a WiiU pad. So we're going to be having an extra screen. You can actually tweak and like mess around with it if you want to. I think as you're pressing over here the setting button, you can actually show the pad, which you can see over here. So we can mess around if you want to. But if you're having a game that don't really need the pad, that's going to be just great. However, so when it comes to general gameplay, I did notice that has some glitches going on. But where it comes with a non-glitch part of the game, you can see this is like looking really amazing. Graphical wise, this is such a very cool game. You can see the glitching going on over there. Maybe we can actually fix it in the future when it comes to, let's say, a different emulator. But this is such a cool Wipeout clone. I love, man. This is just such a cool game. Really to get into it. It's kind of interesting, kind of weird at the same time, because you have this switching of energy level or shield. Okay, there we go. That's what I mean. And I crashed somehow. But when it comes to emulation performance, yeah, it's going to be a hit or miss. I think we're not there yet when it comes to the Wii U. It's just great. Oh crap, I accidentally pressed the wrong button. But when you're looking at this, you can also play all kinds of different games. Like a two-dimensional game, Shovel Knight seems to be working just fine. The question remains, so if you're having a two-dimensional game like this, can we get it from the Play Store, and what is the difference when it comes to that? So I've been playing through this Shovel Knight game. You cannot actually see it because I was already get damaged in the first part of the stage. But the point is that when you're going to be playing this runs absolutely perfect. And this is a very fun, enjoyable experience out of the box. And again, I think when it comes to Wii U, it's just fun to see all of these games getting in place on these devices. Just like insane to see how fast everything is moving. Where we had like maybe a couple of years ago, we did have like struggles with PlayStation Portable. Now we can actually play Wii U. But yeah, the question remains, what kind of platform do you think is going to be important? So moving on to the PlayStation 2, and this seems to be running just fine on the app that is actually on here. Everything is just great. So when you're going to be looking into the buttons, you can actually see this over here, this meter, where you can just accelerate. I think when you had the original PlayStation controller, have these sensitive buttons, or this press sensitive buttons, how they call them. So this is not, of course, happening over here. But again, I think it doesn't really spoil the fun at all. So when it comes to emulation, this is just great. So moving on to the Raiden 3 game, man, I love myself some shmups when it comes to that. The only downside is that we're having a game that should be played on a vertical screen like this, and now we're having this very tiny, let's say, screen. I think this is, it's fun that's actually going to be playing, but you know, this massive black bar to left or right, you don't find it really enjoyable when it comes to that. But also this seems to be running fine, and you know, this is just great to see all kinds of games. And again, you can just do a little bit of tweaking in the emulator, go into the settings to see if we can push it out and get a little bit better overall performance to there. And yeah, we have all kinds of settings you can tinker with when it comes to that. But also, let's do a little bit of a chit chat about the God of War 2 game. So let's do a little bit of it also in gameplay, how this will run out of the box. So the surprising part about this particular device is that it does run quite well when it comes to that. It's absolutely a fun, let's say, overall device. So I didn't want to tinker too much with the internal resolution, just to see what you're getting out of the box. But yeah, this seems to be a very pleasurable and very fun overall experience. Slice and dice with the God of War. God of War, the change of kinkiness. Oh no, wait, that's a different game from the PSP. But yeah, going through a couple of these games, this is just a lot of fun. Let's make a save state over here. And let's do a quick save. You also have different slots. And that's actually it.